Sri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha. Sindhuraruna Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Maulispurat Taranayaka Shekharam Smitamukhim Apina Makshuruham Panibhyam Alipurna Ratna Chashakam Raktotpalam Bibhrati Soumyam Ratna Ghadastha Rakta Charanam Dhyayet Param Ambikam. Welcome to all for this session on Lalitopakhyanam. Now we are moving on to the next chapter in which Brihaspathi will going to explain to Indra on adultery because Indra has committed the sin of not properly respecting the prasad of Devi Shankari when it was offered to him by Durvasa. He placed it on the head of Airavata, which simply by its animal instinct had threw it onto the ground. It is a mistake of Indra. Because of that reason, Durvasa cursed him to lose his wealth as well as his kingdom. And then Indra came and surrendered to Brihaspati, and he is asking him about the details of the different kinds of sins that are committed and what is the expiation for them. And in the last chapter, he was explaining about when the great deeds are done by an individual, the great deed, whatever is the benefit of that great deed, will be shared by not only the one who did it, but also by all the people who contributed to that great work. And then, when Indra asked him about the drunkenness, Brihaspati went on to explain that except a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, along with their women, along with their married women, they are allowed to have the wine, but only after offering it to the gods and to the Deva and Devi and receive it as a prasad in a limited quantity, that much which is sufficient and not in excess. And Brahmana is generally not allowed to have such intoxicating drink unless for the sake of some rare few rituals like Egna and others, he is not supposed to drink, as intoxication would bring down his mental capabilities. Now, in this chapter, Brihaspati went on to explain for the questions asked by Indra on adultery. Indra asked Brihaspati, O great Guru, tell me in detail about the sin of adultery and its expiation. Brihaspati replied to him, Adultery committed with mother's sister, guru's wife, maternal uncle's wife has no means of expiation. In all other cases, fasting and japa may be resorted to do with deep repentance for the sin that is committed. Any man who mates with his wife during her menses must bath and change his clothes, and that day and evening he shall fast and pray to Devi in order to become pure again. From Brahma down to the ant, all the moving things in the world are dependent on food, sex, sleep, and desires always. It is impossible to live without food, and food creates passion. It is almost difficult again to control the passion. In the beginning of creation, Lord Vishnu created all the worlds through Brahma. Then, through Manmatha, Cupid, the Brahma created male and female duality of life subject to birth, growth, and decay as per Prakriti or laws of nature. All life is controlled by pravritti. If this pravritti be avoided, there will be destruction only. That mukti, which is said to be the fruit of nivritti, opposite of pravritti, may also be obtained through pravritti. Here, pravritti is a worldly way of living to fulfill all their needs and desires, whereas nivritti is the opposite of that, where people go denouncing their world. This tantra or yukti, short and easy method, which is great secret of secrets, I shall now declare to you. Listen to that carefully. primeval of Prakasha Purusha Vasudeva is the Atma, Sarva Antaryami. That means one who is there in everybody. Of all the Sat, the invisible, unchanging spiritual aspect of the seen and the unseen. Because of the visible and invisible material aspect, which is ever changing and moving, is his reflection of Vimarsha aspect. Chit, Sat is the first one, Chit is the next, his reflection, Vimarsha aspect, or Moola Prakriti, or Mahalakshmi, the mother of the three worlds. For the continuation of life and for the satisfaction of the mind ruling over the 25 tattvas or principles, the eternal couple have ordained the mating instinct among all life. Knowing this, whosoever mates with his spouse, Shiva and Shakti, meditating on the meaning of the Samsiddha mantra, will be doing his duty as ordained by the divine couple Shiva and Shakti, and will therefore be free from all fault. That mantra bhavana is as follows. This is my wife is part of the universal female principle Mula Prakriti, representing the Shakti herself in essence, and I am part of the universal male principle presenting Purusha himself in essence as the husband and spouse of this my Shiva Shakti. It is my duty to satisfy and still the craving of the 25 tattvas in both of us. I am therefore performing this act as a duty ordained by the eternal couple, and I do seek their blessings. This is how exactly, with this kind of a feeling, a male should mate with her female counterpart. If mating be thus performed, the husband and wife will not be just satisfying a carnal and selfish desire, but will be doers of the God's behest. Not the slightest karma or sin will touch them then. O Mahendra, this is a most guarded secret. For every type of sin, there is one yogapatya, the remedy for the sin destroyer, yogapatha. After bathing with devotion and faith, perform 108 japa of Panchadashakshari mantra and pray to Deva and Devi with sincere repentance. This will cleanse the purity one from all types of sins or impurities or faults. This Panchadashakshari mantra is given in the first chapter. Then Indra went on to ask, O knower of all dharma and well wisher of all that lives, can one's sin be shared by others? Please tell me clearly. Brihaspathi replied to him, there are only a few ways in which a sin may be shared by others. The one who commits the sin has the full consequences to suffer. Next, whosoever helps him in committing the sin as an associate suffers 1/10 less. The one who is responsible for instigating the commission of the sin suffers 2/10 less. He who permits the sin to be committed suffers 3/10 less. You must know that one may commit or incur sin by eating different types of food depending on its source as well as the person cooking or serving it. What has been cooked in a combination of oil or ghee or jaggery or sugar causes no sin. Also, by meditating on one's deity and mentally offering the food, then eating it as prasad for the satisfaction of the several tattvas in the body, which need food for the maintenance of life, one incurs no sin. There are many ways of doing the above as prevalent among devotees of various deities as follows. Before eating, sprinkle droplets of water on or around the food, uttering the japa of Annasukta, japa of Bhrigu, Varuni, mantra chanting the shloka termed Amarapanam, or after 7 japa of mantra Idam Vishnu with Soham Bhavana or attitude of mind, one may meditate on Shankara, make japa of Trayambakam and with Soham Bhavana and partake of food. O Mahendra, listen to this secret. Whosoever eats food daily after meditating on Parashakti and Kameshwara with japa of Panchadashakshari and with bhavana of offering it to them is free from all types of sin connected with food and eatables. Besides, his poverty will vanish, diseases and enemies will flee by constant Soham attitude, Atma Astakshari, Om Hrim Hamsa Soham Swaha. One realizes that all actions are the result of the modifications of gunas, and that all our acts through all our senses or mind or other tattvas are always activated by the myriad shaktis or energies emanating from Parashakti, who alone works in and through us. This, in reality, is the gross form of the invisible spirit in each one of us. Realizing this great truth and consciously dedicating all our thoughts and actions for the glorification of the deity, we incur no sin. We do no karma to reap its fruit, good or bad. All karmas is the result of Prakriti with the modification of the 3 gunas, and we only offer them mentally at the altar of the deity for the satisfaction of the various tattvas or principles for the welfare of all. I have thus far explained to you the 5 types of sin and their expiation. Now tell me what more you desire to know. Indra then went on to ask, O great Guru, knowing knower of the past, present, and future, expert in wisdom relating to Dharma, thou hast very kindly informed me of the several types of sinful deeds and the method of expiation. I have indeed become wiser, O thou Lord of great qualities. Kindly tell me what great sin I had committed, and when do I deserve this present disgrace and danger to my position and my subjects? Kindly enlighten me also as to the mode of absolution thereof. Then Brihaspathi went on to tell him, once the effulgent Kashyapa Prajapati begat a son by name Dhanu and a beauteous daughter Dharma through his spouse Diti. As Dhamma, as Dhamma grew up to be a dazzling beauty, Kashyapa gave her as spouse to Brahma. Brahma begat through her an effulgent son by name Vishvaroopa, who became a great devotee of the lotus feet of Keshava, an expert in the knowledge of the Vedas. When the Danavas appointed Bhargava, Brigu's son Shukra, as their guru, the Devatas invited Vishwarupa to be their Purohit. Vishwarupa loved the Devatas and agreed to be their Purohit and forthwith engaged upon severe tapas.
You were filled with envy at his becoming your equal, and you killed him while he was performing tapas on the three-peaked sacred hill. No sooner was the ghastly deed committed than you were filled with remorse and fear of the resultant sin. You therefore fled and hid yourself among the caves of Kanakadri for quite a while. In the meanwhile, Brahma, hearing the news of his son's death, was filled with wrath and cursed you, saying, May Indra become bereft of Lakshmi through the power of my tapas. Instantly, the Devatas were filled with fear and became panicky. Being now without a teacher, the Devas were being tortured by the Danavas. Unable to bear these tortures for long, the Devatas hastened to Brahma and, prostrating before him, surrendered themselves to his will, praying for forgiveness of Indra's grave and dastardly sin. Brahma was moved, but finding no remedy to remove his curse, he went with them to Narayana, propitiating him, requesting him to devise a suitable remedy. The most merciful Hari bethought himself, and dividing the curse into three branches, he let them affect all women, trees, and the earth. They were also blessed by him so that women may bring forth children when they unite with their husbands during the 16 days after their menses, that trees may have the power to grow again after they are cut down, and the earth, when dug up into trenches and pits, may be filled by again automatically. As a result of the curse, thus divided into three branches, women have to undergo monthly periods of menstrual flow. Trees, the flow of their sap or juices when cut, and saline or arid lands became part of the earth. Having thus been forgiven by Brahma, you left the caves of Meru and returned to your Sargaloka. Brahma then spoke to Janardana and said, Since my curse cannot be completely alleviated, in spite of thus being distributed, may Indra suffer its consequences not immediately but in course of time. Narayana, knowing the course of the future events, remained silent. You were thus able to rule the three worlds in great pomp and much splendor from that day on until now. But being full of egotism and blinded by pride, you caused trouble in Kailasa. Therefore, instigated by Rudra, Durvasa came along and found cause to curse you in order to curb your haughtiness and pride. His curse is akin to the earlier, latest curse of Brahma, and both brought about the same result. Look, O Indra, how soon the three worlds have become bereft of Lakshmi. People have forgotten charity, tapas, yama, and niyama, and have become weak of body, cowardly, and thieves. The earth is bereft of medicinal herbs, vigor, and vitality. The sun looks dusky, the moon is dulled, and cash no light. Even fire has lost its brightness. It does not bode well when all the directions, including the sky, look so dim, dull, and dirty. The Devas have lost their powers and wander about acting in strange ways. The three worlds, full of moving and fixed life, have lost their heritage. Hayagriva Muni, concluding the story, he says, O Muni Agastya, while Indra and Brihaspathi were thus deliberating, the lord of Danavas, Malakasura, waxed strong. Gathering his armies together, he invaded Swargaloka and began to destroy the places, their inhabitants indiscriminately. As soon as Indra came to know of it, he took his devatas to Brahma and prayed for help. Brahma in turn took them all to Lord Vishnu and prayed for succor. Keshava, the knower of the future course of nature and things, spoke merciful words to them and instructed them to follow his plan of action with great attention. Thus, in this story, we have seen in the beginning Indra was questioning Brihaspati regarding adultery, for which Brihaspati answered to him, a sexual act or the mating committed between a husband and wife who are properly married is no sin. But even then, they should perform their uh, mating act by considering themselves to be part of Shiva and Shakti, part of Purusha and Prakriti, for the sake of welfare of the world, for the sake of furthering the world with their offspring. And then no sin will be attached to them apart from their married partner. Mating with any other partner will be considered as a sin, and in that there are certain women with whom, if the man mates, there is no expiation for that. Whereas in all other cases, he needs to perform the japa and the fasting in order to expedite that particular sin. And similarly, then Indra went on to asking about the eating aspects. Whatever the one eats, people should eat that which is prescribed for them. But even there, they should first offer it to God and offer it to Deva and Devi. And as a prasad, they should receive it. And then there won't be any sin committed by them. But in spite of doing all these kind of sin, reciting the Panchadashakshari mantra, which was told in the chapter 1, is always considered the most auspicious, which will going to clear the people from their sins. And then Indra asked Brihaspati what sin he had committed, because of which he lost the leadership, he lost his ownership on all the three worlds, and also lost his treasure. For which Brihaspati went on to tell him that in the past you appointed Vishvaroopa as your guru. However, you got envy of his capability, envy of his position. You killed him, and because of that reason, because Vishvaroopa was son of Brahma, Brahma got angry and he cursed you to lose your kingship as well as your wealth. And then, however, all the gods and goddesses, all the Deva, Devis, they went to Brahma and asked for expiation. And then Narayana helped all of you, dividing your sin among the women who suffer it during the menses, and then the trees who suffer by bleeding the rasa when they are cut, and then the earth which becomes arid in certain places. So, this is how exactly your sin was then distributed. However, you still need to suffer that particular sin. So because of that reason, in the course of time, so because of that reason, now that you rejected or you didn't pay proper respect to Devi Shankari's prasada, so you incur the curse of Durvasa, and because of that reason you lost your kingdom. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmir Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam, Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.